Hello and welcome to this very special show. This is Mastercard presents Times Network Living Room Conclave India Financial Series. Now we're in for a very special discussion. The topic of today's episode is unlocking the opportunity of inbound tourism. Now, who doesn't love to travel? And the last 2 years, well, it'll be an understatement to say that it has changed every industry. It has obviously impacted and changed the tourism industry a lot. But what's the way ahead? We're all getting out of the pandemic. We should be back to, I mean, we're almost back to normal, but we should be back to fully normal very soon. We're all hoping for that. But let's find out more about the tourism industry and specifically what's happening in the inbound tourism space. For that, I'm joined by a panel of experts. Allow me to introduce them. We have Mr. Avinash Mishra, advisor in tourism and culture with the NITI Aayog. We have Mukul Sukhani, the Senior VP South Asia at Mastercard. We have Jyoti Mayal, President, Travel Agents Association of India, or TAAI. And we have Prahlad Krishnamurthi, Chief Business Officer, Cleartrip. Ma'am, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here today. Let's kickstart things. Like I said at the beginning, of course, the industry has changed a lot. But let's talk about the scope of India when it becomes a foremost a tourism destination. I mean, things were going pretty great before the pandemic. Things have changed with the pandemic and now post-pandemic. So, Mr. Mishra, if I could start with you, sir, just your thoughts on how you're seeing this development happen. What's the way ahead that you're seeing?
You see, before the pandemic, actually, the contribution to the GDP of the tourism industry was something close to 6 to 7%, or it was up to 8% also. Now, actually, after the pandemic, I think we are the only country in the world which is gearing up much faster as compared to other. Maybe the presence of vaccination, maybe the overall liking of the people to see towards the environment, ecological, and that sort of the tourism. As far as the potential which is existing in India, it is we have got a rich heritage and natural abundance. Many incredible places that are worthy enough to represent the nation globally. And I think professional training and the safety, security, and the little part what we need to tweak is particularly the training to the guides and to place them in proper. So that is required. But otherwise, we have got immense potential. We have got the heritage. Our medical tourism prior to pandemic was, I think, good enough. Now we should really see how we can develop the cultural event, exhibition, and meeting part, and all that. What should be there, and it should happen. So I think
absolutely
we all got a lot many hopes with the tourism industry now, which has started spinning, and it will further spin off in much better way.
Great, sir. Great. Thank you for those thoughts, sir. Ms. Mayal, ma'am, coming to you, how do you see India providing a changed experience to these tourists who are coming in from overseas?
Thank you, Sumit, and thank you, Times Network, for having us here. I think it's a wonderful decision to take this forward. Just to say that what Avinash ji said, that travel and tourism GDP is actually set to grow on an average of 5.8% annually. And that's the prediction we have between 22 and 32. So we are going to really outpace the growth of the overall economy, which is like 2.7% per year. And, we are, what more actually according to the growth is that the worst thing that was affected were the jobs. And I think 126 million jobs are going to be coming back by the next decade, which is a wonderful news that we all get to hear. But coming back to the India and the research in India, what you talk about and the experiences, I would say the wanderlust that actually fueled the travel and tourism sector remains. We call it revenge travel, which I am just against that word. And we've been calling that since 2 years. I don't call it revenge because revenge is a very negative word and it just doesn't go with tourism. So I think I would say that the wanderlust that we have in our hearts is what is going to be fueling the travel and tourism going forward. And travelers are desperate to explore, and the sector is more than eager to welcome them back and facilitate incredible experiences. And the new resurgent India, what we talk about on time and occasion, has actually offered lifetime and memorable experiences all this time. It's just that we never appreciated the same. You know, we came to know about domestic travel when we didn't have any opportunity to travel outbound. And that's the time we started realizing there's a lot into our country. And now that we have actually experienced it, we know how to sell it to the inbound, you know. So I think that is the main crux of the whole thing, which COVID, like I always say, crisis does bring opportunities. And that's the largest opportunity India could have availed and got. Saying going forward,
Absolutely.
I think the demographic has totally changed. The perception has changed of a traveler. And India but continues to offer all the best. We have multi-cuisine, like Avinash ji said, heritage, culture, of course. We have the biggest seller, which is today, which is wellness, yoga, you know, and people who were not wanting to go into the wilderness and the national parks of India are now very keen to explore those opportunities also, because they feel that is what is needed today. Then, of course, we have the festivities like we have all the festivities like Diwali, Durga Puja, Holi. All these things need to be actually coming into a highlight to be explored. And that is what the expats and the inbound is looking for, because they need to reconnect. And the NRIs and the diaspora needs to reconnect. But the foreign traveler needs to connect. And this is the best thing that we can give them. So there is a huge offering where rural tourism is confirmed, caravan is concerned. Of course, we are lacking in some aspects, and that is what we need to correct. And we need to rebuild on our strengths going forward. And one thing which I always say, that India lost an opportunity to be the largest hub of this country, of this area, because it was a huge opportunity for, like, other countries have taken it forward, like Singapore, Dubai. You know, we could have been the largest hub with layovers or one-day overs, break journeys in India. But this is a time, as we all start again businesses, that we need to create these hubs, both in aviation and tourism, because I think we have a huge time frame now, and we can catch up on the entire thing. So there's a huge thing that can come out of the entire COVID.
Sure, ma'am.
I just wanted to quickly add,
Yes.
I think, to what
Mukul.
Jyoti just said, right? I think some of the trends which are emerging are things like staycations, right? There is sustainable tourism which is happening. And then there's a lot of rural and ecotourism as well, right? Yeah. And Mastercard on our side, you know, we have this Priceless Cities program. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about our Priceless campaign. So we are actually taking that forward with the Priceless Cities campaign. You know, we have about 40 plus cities across the world, which are priceless cities. Now we are going to add cities in India to this. And in addition, you know, we're going to launch a Priceless India program to kind of actually drive inbound tourism. So there's, you know, I'd like to agree with Jyoti, and there's a lot of stuff happening there, and lots of sectors which we didn't think about earlier are coming back. And, you know, we're also seeing within the country, of course, inbound is there, but we're also seeing that people are going towards lesser known destinations. So that's a big thing, I think, which is happening. Just to add to what Jyoti said, yeah.
No, sure. Thank you for that, Mukul. And ma'am, thank you for that, because those are some very important points that both of you have brought up. And as to how we are also rediscovering our country and, you know, being able to highlight those points for the overseas visitors. Prahlad, coming to you, same with my opening question, just how are you seeing things change? How are you seeing more interest from overseas for inbound tourism?
Maybe I can have, and thanks for having us over, right? Times Network. So I can maybe add a little bit of a different flavor, right? So the pandemic has actually changed the way what we expect from tourism, right? So let me take something as simple as safety and hygiene. This has become normal now, right? The expectation is that without this, you will not, I mean, maybe it was different 3 years ago. This is extremely normal. And with the kind of hybrid work culture, which is getting, you know, shared across the world, multiple companies are doing, let's say, work from home or a combination of few days in office, few days here. I think the number of options of alternate stays have increased. I think somebody mentioned caravans and staycations and whatnot, right? So work from anywhere, right? Many companies have adopted it end to end. I think homestays, longer time periods, right? Stay for a month. And these are becoming affordable as well. So more and more people are also subletting their homes for it to become homestay. So there is a complete shift in how we are seeing tourism, at least from a hotel standpoint and a homestay standpoint, from what it is 3-4 years ago. I think the number of homestays which have started coming online in the OTAs the number is huge, right? There is almost 50, 60,000 homestays which have listed itself. And I think the market is even bigger, significantly bigger. I think this is a big shift which I see in hotels, at least to start with.
Mr. Mishra, coming back to you, earlier also in your opening answer, you did mention about some of the things that are being done, some of the initiatives that are being taken. Just some more thoughts on that about how at NITI Aayog and in being in the government as you're seeing things happen, how's the ministry moving towards making sure that more steps are being taken, tourism is highlighted, so that India as such is a prime choice for overseas tourists.
Honorable Prime Minister himself is very much emphasizing on the tourism industry and tourism to grow. Now, actually, it so happened that we used to, as a part of the government, used to campaign outside the world and in different countries, used to organize the fairs and all. But now, actually, in a change scenario, we want to bring the embassies, the high commissions and missions in this particular frame. We want to rate them about their performance with the number of tourists flowing in from that particular country to our country on year-to-year basis. So that way, we are going to rate it. We are developing a software which will be visible to that High Commission or to that embassy, Indian Embassy, Indian Embassy, the Ministry of Tourism, the NITI Aayog, and also to Honorable PM. And then we will see, we have deputed already the dedicated officers in each embassy of Indian Embassy abroad, and we are just thinking and we are just developing the programs how they should really mobilize. And Indian diaspora has also been indicated that at least 5 of the non-resident Indians should be sent to India for a visit. They should see globally how we are. We have got 38,
Yes.
39, 40 UNESCO World Heritage Site, but the inflow is hardly something around 10 million, which was also in 2019. It has fallen down now drastically at present. So these are the things what actually at the time of the ministry we are doing. We are also working how the connectivity can be established, particularly to address the Buddha circuit, particularly to address the coastal circuit, and to many other things. Now you are also seeing the change in the India Gate and all, Rajpath to Kalyan Path and complete Indianization, and then the heritage and everything, right from what is going to happen for the culture, for the cuisine, everything, whatever is India, we want to get it experienced. We are going to host G20 summit again in December, and we are thinking that those people will be taken at different location in the country, and they will have an Indianized feeling. If they are in Rajasthan, and then they will be feeling what is happening in the Rajasthan. They might be staying there, and I'm telling and I'm assuring government is very much after it, that the
Yes.
tourism industry of India should come up as a number 1 and world-class industry in this globally. So that's what is our effort.
Ms. Mayal, coming to you, Mr. Mishra has also spoken about these amazing initiatives being taken by the ministry and by the government. But recently, the Ministry of Tourism also set up the National Digital Tourism Mission. Just wanting to get your thoughts on that, ma'am, of the idea of digitalization, the impact of that on tourism. How are you seeing it?
Sumit, TAAI has been very active in all these deliberation and formation of policies has been concerned with Ministry of Tourism, Aviation, and all other ministries. But especially all the policies that are coming into place. It could be the National Tourism Policy, it could be the Adventure Policy, it could be the Sustainable, Rural, MICE, all that are coming out. TAAI has a great input to be always on the platform to be discussing this. As a matter of fact, if you read the National Digitization Policy, our name is quoted there and our inputs are there too. So digitization in the tourism sector, I would say, presents a huge opportunity where tourism is concerned. And today, Again, I'm going to say this, that COVID has taught us what digitization is. Staying locked at home for more than 2 years, literally, we all started moving on digitization and how we were in connect with each other. And if today Cleartrip says, or Make My Trip says, or anyone says we are an OTA, I would just say that no, every travel agent today is an OTA because he is working online. How you actually differentiate between the OTA and a small agent is a different issue, but we are all OTAs today. So what does digitization really bring? I would say it really improves on the operational efficiencies. Of course, it will sharpen everyone's competitive edge because that is what is very important. But at a collective level, it will also help to develop and customize products and offerings because that is very, very important today when you see the new traveler. Because the new traveler is the millennium, it's millennial travel, it's the Gen Z, Gen X, whatever you call them, they are just on digitization. But something when we go beyond the normal thought process of digitization, when we say, Acha, we are doing bookings on digitization, we are looking at, live inventories, how we can innovate, how we can, unlock what is digitization. There's something which goes beyond. Today, data analysis is very important. SWOT analysis is very important. And somehow these are the things which we lack. We have been lacking, but I'm sure with these policies coming in, we will get to see more of those. Because if you actually search on Google also, you will find the records of 2016, 2017, but nothing prevailing to today, that what is today happening in numbers. So all this will bring you live, absolutely live data on board. And that is very important to plan what your future looks like. And I would say that because that is very, very important. Tourism, as we all know, is a very complex ecosystem. We have a huge value chain with multiple service providers, right from the rickshawala or the craft guy, right to the ticketing person or the tour operators. So I think there has to be a lot of strength coming into these, and we need to join the dots to make it a very strong link. And that is what is required from the government and private stakeholders.
Super. Mukul, just want to take this point to you one step ahead. So we spoke about, when we talk about tourism, we've spoken about, Prahlad was mentioning about safety hygiene becoming normal. We've spoken about the different aspects of India becoming famous abroad. Ma'am has spoken about digitization, all very important parts for a tourist. But one very important part for a tourist is the payments infrastructure. How are you seeing the payments infrastructure to support tourism? How are you seeing it develop over the last few years, right now, the way ahead? If you could give us your inputs on that, Mukul.
Thank you so much for that question. I think the payments infrastructure has actually grown by leaps and bounds across the country. And that's really, if you look at it, completely driven by technology. So I would say that there are 4 or 5 clear elements on this, right? There is technology, and that technology is helping in adoption of payment mechanisms, which are actually contactless, which are digital in nature, right? So Mastercard networks, along with the banks, have actually developed a range of low-cost acceptance solutions that actually allow merchants now to accept payments using just a card, or even just scan a QR code and accept the payment, right? So in the past, you needed a box. Now you just need a phone. We have something called soft POS, and you just give the merchant a soft POS and the merchant can actually start accepting. So the technology is very big, and acceptance solutions powered by technology is what is driving the digitization of payments across all of these tourist locations. Then the next phase of it is education. So one, you give technology. 2 is you educate the merchant how to accept the payment, right? Because many cases, the merchant also doesn't know. So you educate him on the benefits of accepting payment through digitization. So that's the other part. The third part is training. I think training and education kind of go hand in hand. So when you go to these areas and where, digital payments were not being accepted in the past, how do you train and educate these merchants to start accepting digital payments? And then you think, we are bringing very innovative service delivery kind of solutions to make this happen, and using advanced technologies. Jyoti made the point around data. So there's a lot of work that we do around data and artificial intelligence to crunch the data and to deliver analysis that will help issuers across the world, actually, not just in India. It helps issuers across the world to say, what can we do to target certain destinations in India? And MasterCard helps them actually to do that, right? We've also launched what's called the cashless, team cashless initiative, And that is a very big one where we've actually organized 3 on-ground engagements in Guwahati, Lucknow, and Varanasi to actually generate greater awareness and understanding of digital payments. And, we've had volunteers who've gone to these cities and they've partnered across the board, even with auto rickshaw people, the Restaurants Association, shopkeepers, even in Varanasi, the boat union. So we just partnered with them to help them accept cashless payments, because we know that in inbound tourism, people don't want to carry too much cash, right? They just, want to carry a phone, they want to carry their card, and that's how they want to pay. So this team cashless is something that we started, and this is something that we are actually going to expand and go to several destinations, both which are good for inbound as well as for domestic tourism, and try and drive that piece out there.
As the industry has evolved over these last few years, how are you seeing a smooth experience amongst the stakeholders, amongst tourists also, especially with this digital base that we were talking about, because things have changed so much with digitization? How are you seeing these changes?
Yeah, with respect to customer experience, you mean, right?
Yes,
See,
yes, yes.
Let's take our airports itself, for example, right? Today, web check-in is mandatory. It wasn't 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It is quite seamless. You had to take a printout many years ago. Now everything is mobile friendly. There is this Digi Yatra thing. If it works, I think that is outstanding for the industry with respect to completely facial recognition, walk in through our gates of security and so on and so forth. So I think with respect to experience of customers, at least our airports have evolved quite a bit, right? And hotels, while they are heavily unorganized and spread across the country, at least the top chains are adopting to some technology with respect to a back-end upload of your, let us say, documents before you come in, a seamless direct to your room check-in, so that you can also having the hygiene factor kind of in. So I think from an experience standpoint, all these touch points are slowly improving, right? So even if you take some of the features that are offered online by portals like Cleartrip or others as well, it's proactive with respect to our customer experience. Because of the uncertainty that is there today during travel, if you need flexibility options, if you need cancellation options, the kind of products that are available to easily kind of maneuver between airlines or between hotels, I think that has increased. So overall, it's a good place to be in for a traveler.
Thank you, Prahlad. Thank you, Mukul. Thank you, Mr. Mishra. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you on this panel. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being on the panel. Thank you to the viewers. I hope you've taken back a lot from this conversation. This has been our special episode, Mastercard Presents Times Network Living Room Conclave India Financial Series, where we were talking about unlocking opportunities in inbound tourism. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about so many things. The important thing is, it's not about revenge travel. It's a celebration of travel, and India is ready with open arms to welcome all the tourists who are coming in. Thank you so much for watching.